Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me here today. If it is your first time here, welcome. My name is Trish, and today we are going to be doing a full face of Westman Atelier, or at least a nearly full face of Westman Atelier. And it has been a while since I have been able to sit down and film a video. I think it's been almost over a month. And for those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that during the summertime, things get a little crazy and it's a little bit harder for me to film. But what happened this time around is we did actually go to Hawaii, and then we went back east for my older son's graduation. So I wasn't able to film during that time. And then when we got home, we all got sick. So my husband and my younger son were the first to come down with this nasty late spring, early summer cold. And then I got it, and then we were actually doing some work around the house. In fact, about 10 days ago, I think I had everything ready to film this exact video. And then suddenly we had some workers doing some stuff in our backyard, and they appeared out of nowhere. I was not expecting them, so then that thwarted my plans to film this video because I actually film right in front of these sliding glass doors that we have. So it is very open to the backyard, so there was no way I could film the video that day. And then I also just want to say, and this is sort of a warning for those of you who leave me comments when I go a little bit off topic away from skincare and makeup. So if you don't want to hear what I have to say about my feelings about what's going on in the world, just go ahead and jump to the part of the video that you want to see. I have the timestamps down below, but I do want to acknowledge the painful things that are going on in our world today. And for me, and I'm sure for many of you and other content creators, it's hard to strike that balance around creating content on topics that may seem frivolous, like beauty and makeup, when there are such painful things happening in the world. But as I have mentioned in previous videos, I do think that playing with makeup or, giving yourself a facial massage before you go to bed are all ways of expressing self-care. So I do think that is incredibly important when we are under stress, whether it's personal stress going on in your lives or knowing what's going on in the world, such as the unnecessary suffering that's going on for the people in Gaza or with what's going on in our own country. And I do believe that our administration is being incredibly cruel. But I just want all of you to know that even though I don't mention these things in every single video that I create, my heart is very heavy with what is going on in the world today. And I don't mention it every single time I make a video because I don't want to be a downer when I create these videos. I do want my channel to be a source of calm and just a place that you can go to maybe learn some things or just get some inspiration and just a place to come and relax. That's how I use YouTube. I love watching, tennis videos and perfume videos and beauty videos as a place to come and just relax at the end of the day. So anyway, enough of that housekeeping. I am here today to talk to you about Westman Atelier. And I want to let you know that I already have concealer on my face today. I just have it under my eyes, and I did blend it out just a little bit down onto my cheekbones just slightly. And I am wearing the Tower 28 Serum Concealer in K-Town. I did that just because I don't have the concealer from Westman Atelier, and I just wanted to save on time here. It's not too terribly exciting watching me put on concealer, so I went ahead and did that off camera. So I am going to remember to put my hair back before we get started here. I tend to forget to do that, so I'm going to do that right off the bat so I don't forget. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Complexion Drops. Now, I have this in number 4, and this is supposed to be for light, medium, golden undertone skin. And I have found this to be a little bit on the light side. Now, I have actually only used this one time, so this is a relatively new product for me. You are supposed to shake this up really, really well, because it does tend to separate, and there are no beads or anything in here, so it's not that satisfying actually shaking up this little bottle, but I'm gonna do my best in terms of shaking this up. And then what I tend to do with these types of products is I just put it into the palm of my hand, and that looks about right in terms of the amount that I'm going to put on my skin. And then I just rub it into my face like I would a lotion. Now, I know that people have spoken about the scent of this product kind of smelling like a cooking oil, and it does have a little bit of that scent. It's not terribly strong, and it does seem to dissipate pretty quickly, but there is a little bit of that oily kind of scent in this product. Now, as you can see, I do feel like this is a little bit on the light side for me. And maybe that's just because I'm a little bit tanner right now than I am in the wintertime. I think in the winter, like in January, February, March, April, this will probably be a perfect color match for me. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of the Typology bronzing drops. Now, when I first got these, I felt like these were a little bit too dark for me, but now that it's the summertime, this is the perfect bronzing drop for my skin tone. And you just need one drop, and then I'm gonna rub this into my hands and then onto my skin to just darken up the Complexion Drops from Westman Atelier. Now, they do have bronzing drops that they have come out with, Westman Atelier does, and I do not have those. I was thinking about getting them. I was really, really close to getting those during the Credo sale, but they did sell out, so I was not able to get them. I do know that those complexion drops are matte, but I do tend to like more of a dewy type of finish in my complexion products. So I think that I am totally set with these Typology bronzing drops for the summertime. But overall, I think the Westman Atelier complexion drops are a beautiful product. And in terms of powders from Westman Atelier, I do have one of their pressed powders. I just want to make note of their packaging. It's very beautiful, very weighty, definitely feels very luxe. It can be a little bit difficult to open. You really do have to get your nail into the little divot there. So sometimes I do struggle with opening up their packaging, but definitely not a deal breaker, but thought I would just mention that. So this is what translucent looks like. I did put this on my year-end favorites, maybe back in 2022, 2023. I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but whatever year it came out. I do not reach for this as much as I reach for other powders, such as the Kosas Cloud Set powder. I tend to reach for that one a little bit more, or my Jane Iredale Pure Press Base when I feel like I want to use a powder, but I do still feel like this is very lovely. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of this under my eyes so that you can just get a sense of what it looks like. And I will put some on my upper lid just to kind of help set what I'm gonna put on my upper lid later on. Or actually not too later on, pretty quickly here. So that's what the powder looks like. I'm not sure if it's making that much of a difference, and I typically don't use powder underneath the Tower 28 concealer. But since I did take the complexion drops up under my eyes and over the concealer, I do think it makes sense to just set that a little bit with the Westman Atelier powder. So I went ahead and did that. And then I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is talk about the powder blush duos, because I think I am going to use one of them as a bronzer. So let's go ahead and show you that one. And I think the one that I'm going to use as a bronzer is from the Suede and Sable duo. And this is what the packaging looks like. It's a nice combination of cute and elegant. I really love this milky pink color. And then inside the compact has a mirror. And again, it's just very luxe, very elegant, and it's just nice to hold in your hand. So like I said, this one is Suede and Sable, and they describe Suede as a nude rose and then Sable as a warm tawny. And I'm gonna go ahead and use Sable as a bronzer. So I'm gonna take my big fluffy brush here and go into Sable and just lightly use this as a bronzer. And these are quite pigmented. So you want to start with a gentle hand and just build up. And they also do have their Beauty Butter bronzers that I really like. And I did bring that down here as well. So I'll show you that in comparison. But you can see this really does start to liven up the face pretty quickly. I want to say that I think this is pretty interesting that this is a part of the powder blush duo, because this to me does not read as a blush. This definitely seems like a bronzer to me. So that is Sable on my skin tone. And I am going to put a little bit of this on my eyelids, which I really, really love. I feel like this is a really great one to take on vacation with you if you really like a monochromatic look, because you've got your bronzer, you've got a nice natural eyeshadow, and then Sable is this really beautiful rosy blush as well. So I do want to show you what the Beauty Bronzer in Coupe de Soleil looks like in comparison to Sable. And of course, Sable is right here. So this is what they look like in comparison in the pan. Now, I don't think these are going to show up on the back of my hand, since my hand is quite tan right now. The back of my hand is, so I'm gonna put these on my palm. So this is Coupe de Soleil, the Beauty Butter Bronzer, and then this is Sable. So Sable is definitely warmer than Coupe de Soleil. So these are the two as a side-by-side comparison. But I would say that Sable definitely is in the same realm as Coupe de Soleil, the Beauty Butter Bronzer. So I still really feel like Sable is in that bronzer family, or at least definitely in that blush bronzer type of product. So again, this is Coupe de Soleil, the butter bronzer, and this is Sable from the blush duo that has Suede and Sable. And since I'm not gonna be putting Suede on my face today, this is the Nude Rose in the Suede and Sable blush duo. Here it is on the palm of my hand. So this is the Suede and then Sable duo. And then just one more time in the pan, this is Suede and Sable. And then moving on to the next blush duo I've got Coquette and then Mimi. And Mimi is also a stick blush that they have. And again, I just really find it very interesting that this color Mimi is in the blush duo, because Mimi in this format is really speaking to me as a bronzer, and a bronzer for somebody who has quite deep skin tone. So I have tried to use this as both a blush and a bronzer, and I really feel like it's a little bit too deep for me. So I have been using this more as an eyeshadow than I have as a blush or a bronzer. But when it comes to Coquette, this is a gorgeous peachy pink blush. As you guys know, I have been in love with peachy pinks for a while now. So this one is really, really gorgeous if you love peachy pinks. I will go ahead and swatch these for you again on my palm, because I just really feel like that gives a good sense of the color. So here's Mimi and here's Coquette, and you can see that Coquette leans on the light side when it comes to that peachy pink, and you can see that Mimi is quite deep and quite rich. And ultimately, when it comes to this color duo, I don't really understand why they put these two together. I feel like they should either have a deeper blush color with Mimi, or they should have a lighter bronzy color with Coquette. Like I said, this pairing just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like you have to have pretty light skin to pull off Coquette. And then, as I mentioned, I think you need a little bit darker skin tone for Mimi to work for you. Now, having said that, I can make this work for me. I do think that Coquette is a really beautiful peachy pink color. It works really well for me when I'm not as tan as I am right now. It really does give a nice peachy vibrance to the cheeks. And I believe in a previous video where I was talking about product recommendations from the Credo sale, I did put Mimi on my eyelids, and that is a really lovely look as well. So I can definitely make it work for me, but I do think the disparity in these colors is something to definitely be aware of. Now we're gonna move on to the last powder duo that I have from Westman Atelier, and this is one of their sculpting duos. And I do find this to be a little bit confusing in terms of deciphering between the blush duos and the sculpting duos. I think in the sculpting duos, you have one of the contour colors. Like in the sculpting duo that I have, I've got Petal and then Biscuit, and Biscuit is one of the contour colors. But even having said that, I do find this launch to be a little bit on the confusing side, because like I was saying when I was discussing the blush duos, when it comes to those two colors, Mimi and Sable, I find those to be more on the bronzy side, not so much on the blush side. side of things. But anyway, let's get to the color descriptions of the duo that I do have. Petal is a dusty nude rose and Bisque is a cool beige coffee. And I really am loving Petal from this duo. I also have Petal in the stick format, so I will go ahead and do a comparison for you guys so you can see the difference between the two. But I am gonna go ahead and put Petal on my face because like I said, I am really loving this color. And I'm just gonna lightly pat my brush into the pan because like I was saying, these are quite pigmented. So I'm just gonna do a light touch to start with. And because of my olive undertones, this sort of berry leaning rosy color that it has in the pan does turn a little bit warmer on my cheeks, which I actually really like. I really love the warmth that it gives to my cheeks. And I think it's really, really lovely for the summertime. I also think it's gonna be really nice for the autumn as well. So I really love the look that it gives to my cheeks. I think it's really nice for the summer, but I think it's going to be really lovely year round. I don't know as if I mentioned yet that these blush duos are matte, but I think they give a really nice skin finish. I would not say that they are mattifying. I don't think they turn the skin looking flat or dull or lifeless by any means. I still think you can see that lovely dewiness from the Complexion Drops shining through. So I think they work really, really well together. So I do think you're getting what you're paying for when it comes to the finish of this product. It's very finely milled. It has this really nice creaminess to it when it comes to that powder cream type of hybrid. Not a lot of kick up when you put your brush onto the product. But when it comes to the actual color schemes of these duos, I think that's where I start to run into a little bit of a problem. Like Biscuit, for instance, this is a little bit muddy on my complexion. I'm having a little bit of a hard time figuring out how to use Biscuit on my face. Now, I do have Biscuit in the stick format. I definitely prefer using Biscuit as a cream contour, but I typically don't really reach for contour products. So for me, I wish that I could have Petal as a single. Now, I have not yet compared Petal in the powder to Petal in the stick format, so I am going to do that right now. So let's see how the two compare. So this is Petal in the stick, and I'm going to compare these two. So here they are side by side. This is the powder formulation. This is the stick formulation. And you'll see here that the powder formulation definitely is warmer. It definitely has a little bit more of a peachy tone to it than the rosy stick cream formulation. So there definitely is a little bit of a difference. I am gonna go ahead and put a little bit of the Petal cream blush on top, and I'm just going to blend it out with my finger because I don't have my favorite brush down here with me. And they are quite similar, but I do think there is a little bit more of a rosiness of the Petal cream blush. So I would say the two products are quite different. Obviously, they are different formulations. You've got the cream stick formulation when it comes to Petal. So obviously that's going to give you a little bit more of a dewy finish, completely different formulation. And then when it comes to the Petal in the blush duo, or I should say the sculpting powder duo, this is obviously a powder formulation, and I do feel like it does lean a little bit warmer. So that's the difference that I'm seeing when it comes to the powder formulation versus the stick formulation of Petal. I think they are both very, very beautiful. But again, I just don't know if I'm going to be reaching for Biscuit because on me, it just turns really muddy. So I don't know if it's worth the whole $75 just to be able to have Petal. But I do want to go ahead and move on because I do want to show you the Superloaded tinted highlights. My favorite is Peau de Peche, and this is a warm peach. I really like using this on my eyelids, so I'm going to put this on top of, let's see, what did I put on my lids from the powder duo? I use Sable on my eyelids from the Suede and Sable blush duo. So now I'm putting Peau de Peche on top of that. And like I said, I absolutely love Peau de Peche on the eyelids. I really love using this as a one and done look. Super, super easy. And I have had this forever. I don't know, I'm probably going on 4 years of having this product, and it has not gone off at all. It still smells absolutely fresh. I also have Peau de Soleil, which is a beautiful bronzy color. And I also have Peau de Rosé, which is a soft, cool rose. And I don't really reach for this that often. It is really beautiful, but I don't really think it's a great match for my skin tone. Now, I do want to show you one other baby cheeks blush that I do have, and that is Mimi, and that is a tawny beige. And this is a really beautiful color. So while Mimi didn't really work out for me in the powder format, and I will do a quick side-by-side of Mimi in the stick format against the Mimi in the powder format, just so that you can see the difference, just in case you already have Mimi in the stick and you're curious. So here you can see Mimi in the cream stick format, and this is Mimi from the blush powder duo. So this one you can see has more pink in it, and I feel like it is just more wearable for me. And also the cream format, I feel like blends a lot better. Because Mimi in the powder format is so heavily pigmented, it just has a harder time of blending for me when it comes to the cheeks. Like if I want to use it as a bronzer or a blush, it does get a little bit patchy, but I don't have any difficulty blending it as an eyeshadow. But I would say if you are looking for a tawny beige blush with a little hint of pink, I would go for Mimi in the stick cream format. That is what my preference definitely is. Now I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my eyes, and I don't know if Westman Atelier actually has a eye pencil. If they do, I don't have it, so I'm going to use my Victoria Beckham Kajal eyeliner, and I'm going to use it in the color Cinnamon. So I'm gonna go ahead and line my waterline. And as I always mention when I'm using this product, you just have to use the lightest touch, because this is very, very pigmented, and a little bit goes a long way. And I also like to put a little bit close to my upper lash line and then just kind of smudge that out. And this color Cinnamon looks really, really nice with Peau de Peche on the lid, because that peachy tone works really nicely with the warm brown of Cinnamon. So I think that's all I'm gonna do in terms of the eyeliner. And then I also do not have the mascara from Westman Atelier. I think they might have 2 mascaras right now, but regardless, what I'm gonna do is stick with Victoria Beckham. I'm going to use her original mascara. And for those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I love the brush of this mascara. This mascara does a really nice job of lengthening the lashes and separating them. Just gives a really nice fluttery look to the lashes. So the mascara is done, and then I'm just going to brush out my brows. I hardly ever use any kind of product in my brows. And then for the lips, I do not have the Westman Atelier lip liner, so I'm going to use my new favorite lip liner. This is from Rhode. This is their Peptide Lip Shape in the color Lift. This is just a nice neutral pink color that goes with pretty much anything. And I really like this lip liner because you don't have to be precise with it at all. And then on the other end is this silicone angled sort of brush that does a really nice job of kind of evening things out. So anyway, I've been really loving this Rhode Peptide Lip, what do they call it again? Lip Shape. And then from Westman Atelier, I have their Lip Suede Matte Lipstick in Gerève. And this is a blushy nude. But as far as nudes go, this is quite pigmented. So I don't know if I would necessarily call this a nude, but it's kind of a rosy, nudie pink color. And I do like applying this with a lip brush because it is very, very pigmented. So I prefer using a brush to control the amount of lip color that I'm applying. Because if I apply this directly from the bullet, then it's just gonna get too intense for me. So I don't know about you, but I would not call this a blushy nude. For me, this is definitely more of a kind of a warm, dusty rose. Is maybe what I would call this. But anyway, it's very, very pretty. And this packaging is absolutely gorgeous. It is very, very luxe, has that magnetic closure. And then what I like to do is put the Westman Atelier Squeaky Clean Lip Balm on top. And I really prefer the color Nana, which is their soft beige color. And I typically reach for Nana when I want to tone down a lipstick color. So this beigey color works perfectly in this circumstance. When I want to just tone it down a little bit, kind of similar to the Victoria Beckham color Bikini. This is kind of similar to that. And this feels really beautiful on the lips. It definitely feels like a liquid lip balm. Again, the packaging is really luxe, very beautiful. And then a full face of Westman Atelier would not be complete without talking about the Lit Up Highlight Stick. This highlighter still remains my favorite highlighter of all time. It is so easy to use. It is foolproof. It feels amazing on the skin. Nectar is a glassy golden peach color, and I just absolutely love it. I like putting a little bit up here on the high points of my brow bone, maybe just a little bit on my nose here, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I love it so much. So if you were going to invest in one highlighter for the rest of your life, or if I were to just have one highlighter for the rest of my life, this one would definitely be it, hands down. I just love it so much. I also do have Brûlée, and this is a glassy bronze gold. This is also very, very pretty. I might put a little bit on my forehead just so that you can kind of see what this looks like, just as we're finishing up here. I've actually never done this before, but I just want to be able to get this on my skin just so you can kind of have an idea. I don't know if that's actually showing up very well on camera, but I just want to give you the idea that this is not a super dark bronzy highlighter. This too is very, very subtle, but also very pretty. Pulling Brûlée out here today is reminding me that I need to wear this one more often, especially in the summertime. I really love this one a lot as well. And again, I have had these for so long, probably 3 to 4 years. They are still going strong as well. And I hate to end on a negative note, but I do have the Liquid Superloaded Highlight in Peau de Peche. And this one I really don't like so much. This one you also have to shake up really, really well, just like the Complexion Drops. This one also has kind of that oily scent as well. But what I have noticed with the Liquid Superloaded Highlight is that I have a much harder time reintegrating this formula than I do the Complexion Drops. The Complexion Drops, once you shake it up, this separation disappears. I have a really hard time not having this one separate, even if I have shaken it up really, really, really well. It still, and let's see if this is a situation today, when you pour it out onto your hand, well, actually, today it did a much better job. It's not separating, so that's a good sign. But let's see how the scent is today. Because what I have noticed is that oily type of scent seems to be pretty strong in this product. Yeah, it's much stronger than the Complexion Drops, and the reviews that I have read really complain about that cooking oil scent in this product. And yeah, it is a lot stronger than the Complexion Drops. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of this on my face. It is really quite beautiful. And when I have worn it, I've actually gotten some compliments on my complexion. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a little bit on my skin. Yeah, it really does give a nice, beautiful glow. So it is, I would say it is more noticeable than the Lit Up Highlight Stick. So this definitely gives more of a noticeable glow, but very, very beautiful. In comparison to other highlight products that I have used, this is still very natural looking. But in comparison to the Lit Up Highlight Stick, I would say that Nectar leans a little bit more on the natural side in comparison to the Liquid Super Loaded Highlight. Now, as I was starting to talk about this, I was ready to say some negative things about it, but this time around, It has done a better job of being more integrated. The product was not separated. I feel like the oil smell is not as pronounced this time around. It is definitely more similar in my experience to the Complexion Drops, and like I said, is giving me a really beautiful glow. So moving forward, what I would actually like to do is use this under my makeup. So stay tuned for a future video because the jury is still out on how I feel about the Liquid Superloaded highlight. So here's the final look of my full face of Westman Atelier. I am really pleased with how it turned out. I have to say I am quite impressed with the Complexion Drops from Westman Atelier. At first, I wasn't too happy with how the color match was working out for my skin, but I really do think that ultimately this color will work out for me. Like I said, I think it's going to be better for me when it is more of the cooler months of the year, but I am definitely going to be able to make this work out with a little bit of some bronzing drops in here. I love the finish of the Complexion Drops. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's giving me that light to medium coverage that I really do enjoy with that natural skin finish with a little bit of dewiness. So huge rave for the Complexion Drops. And then as far as these powder duos go, I would say my favorite out of the three is the Suede and Sable duo. I think this is going to be the most practical one out of the three that I have. I really do love the color Petal, but when it comes right down to it, I think the Petal in the blush stick is probably more practical for me. I love cream blushes. And when it comes right down to it, I don't think it's worth getting the blush duo just to be able to get that Petal color. I also really love Mimi in the Baby Cheeks cream blush as well. Mimi is a beautiful, beautiful color. I think it might be an exclusive to the Westman Atelier website. I'm pretty sure about that. I also absolutely love Peau de Peche in the Superloaded highlight. This is in the compact formulation. This is a favorite of mine over so many years now. Absolutely love this product. And then also in terms of highlights from Westman Atelier, the Nectar Lit Up Stick continues to be a favorite of mine. Also over so many years too. Absolutely love this one. And then in terms of lip products, I do really like Jereve in the matte lipstick, but it is a little bit fussy for me. Like I said, I do need to apply it with a lip brush. It's not something I can just throw on super easy and run out the door. So it is a little bit more of a special occasion kind of lipstick for me. So not something I'm gonna be reaching for on the day-to-day. But as far as a lip product that I really feel like is very practical, that is something you will use on a day-to-day basis, that you're probably going to get your money's worth, since Westman Atelier is a very expensive brand, I really do recommend the Squeaky Clean Liquid Lip Balm in the color Nana. That's the soft beige color. I really do love this one, and I feel like you can wear it on its own. I love wearing it on top of lipsticks, and I just think it's a great product, and I absolutely love it. So those are my favorite picks from this full face that I just did. Like I said, I really love how the look turned out, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would do so, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.